Just turning in random.
I'm glad you made it.
Pause. No, it's just we all are hunched together. We're sort of this. I had to actually find these. They have been
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I have
Come back and
a lot of and I think I thought of you. Just, you know, but it's like, yeah, well, figured it out.
Casey and I were calling.
Were you?
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning. No talking about people. Just talking to a little bit. She always sees out here. She said, they never yeah. Yeah, we're actually pointing to you guys. Our office is everyone come back to the office. Same. There we go. Yeah, my math was like the summer. They never put math back on. They never had a math. Wow. You know, we were just celebrating a week ago. It's been so much fun. That's good. It's good to get these other things. That's right. Mind if I sit here? No, I don't. Okay.
You know who I am?
Bob.
We have two of our great nieces and a great niece from my institute.
Oh, yeah.
And they left after job in Israel.
Which is actually 8 hours late. I'll probably. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we all near each other. Sure, yeah, I'll yeah. We'll look at Bob. Bob. My brother-in-law.
Decide if it's hot or cold. It's hot or black. No, we didn't think he was ready for something like this. So, actually, in all honesty, Dad already watched the press show. We had the tickets. They're long talk, but it was the right move. We talked about it. What? Oh, no, trust me. I know way more unfortunate names than that.
I mean, I think everyone's. And what I've heard is that they're just arriving here.
Right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It says a lot about. I had just gone out to talk to the church. He's been
Watching.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize that we were standing in front of the I'm going to move now. Oh, my God. That's right.
That's basically my attitude. Hello. Hi. Yeah. Bob and I. Great. Jordan, in particular, talking to because I was the trumpet player talking to the shofar. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've done that. Different cases. Were you born here in Denver then? Okay.
My son too. Obviously, with Montana later.
Okay. Yeah. That. Yeah.
I was about 22.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the chronological order.
All right.
All the music.
And Jerry, the young. Okay. Anyway, that's, you know. Okay. Get that, you know, right.
Because
Thank you, Danny, for telling me.
At face, third. Yeah. Yeah. No, I have transition. I think. Oh, yeah, progressive has to do with bipolar transition.
there's a baby. We did a baby with them.
Oh, yeah.
Walking down.
Yeah. Sit back down.
That's lot.
Oh, about 6 weeks of getting injections along the way. Yeah.
Got to watch last Shabbos. And the lady. Like the difference between last week and this week.
Folks, we will be starting shortly. Thank you for your patience. Family members who've been flown in and coming straight from the airport from Israel have arrived, and we will be starting shortly. Thank you.
Family has the right.
Saved your seat.
Thank you.
Not really.
Maybe 35.
She was divorced and he was married and they decided to convert.
So.
Looked it up.
74.
Oh my goodness.
Someone came up.
But in the end, his family said, you know what, this is okay because in that cartoon, this dad really wanted
It's really, they have all this. We were standing out here for 2 hours. All right, I did. You know,
Oh, really?
and Julius were, I know in business in Greeley, where a number of my relatives live. The dinners and Siegel, Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one and then drive really that long ago, 1950. So we'll just call that 70 years ago.
So are they trying to video it? In which case you need to get out of the line of sight of the camera.
You were able to do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I can remind everyone to please turn off your cell phones for the service.
Mizmor David, Adonai Ro'ilo, Echsar Bino Deshiyar Bitseni, Amen Menufot Gila Haleni, Nafshi Yeshavev Yanchin, Bamagleit Tzedek Lama'an Shemo, Gam Ki Elech Bageit Salma Velo Ira Raki Yata Imadi, Shivtecha Mishantecha Hema Yanachamuni, Taroch Lefanai Shulchan Neged Sorarai, Ishanta Vashem and Roshi Kosi Revaya, Achto V'chesed Yudafuni Kol Yemei Chayai, Shanti Vaved Adonai La'orech Yamin. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Lechu banim shimuli, yirat Adonai al madechem. Come, my children, and listen carefully. You will learn what it means to fear Adonai. Who is eager for life? Who desires years of good fortune? Guard your tongue from evil, your lips from deceitful speech. Shun evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it, says Psalm 34. And selected this because I think it reflects the kind of values that Jordan Hochstadt embodied. I had an opportunity just recently to interact with Jordan and Sue. I've been on a campaign of coffee dates, and Jordan and Sue signed up for a coffee date with me. And we went out to coffee, and I was taken by a number of things. The first was that Jordan really wanted to know me. The purpose from his point of view of the coffee was so that I could know Jordan and Sue as a couple, and so that they could come to know me better as a rabbi. Jordan's questions were insightful and sensitive. I immediately got the impression, the truth that Jordan was an extremely learned man who quoted Torah and Talmud to me by heart in a way that that I can't. He was incredibly proud of his children. He told me much about them, and I learned that Jordan and Sue are people that live by the courage of their convictions. And mostly what I observed was deep love and friendship between Jordan and Sue, a real love that transcended so many years. I can see by all of you here just how loved Jordan was. And on behalf of Jordan's family, I thank you for gathering to honor his memory.
Terachem al banim rechem Adonai al yire'av. Kihu yada yitzreinu zachor kefar anachnu. Enosh kechatzir yamav ketzitza sadeh. Ken yatzitz ki ruach avrabo ve'enenu lo yakirenu od mekomo. Chesed Adonai me'olam ve'alolam al yire'av v'tzidkato livnei banim. As a father has compassion for his children, Adonai has compassion for those who show reverence. God knows how we are fashioned. God remembers that we are but dust. The days of mortals are like grass. We flourish as the flowers of the field. A wind passes over them and they are no more, and no one can recognize where they grew. But Adonai's compassion is everlasting. God's kindness to children's children, to all the reverent ones, endures age after age unchanged. The psalmist writes, O Lord, who shall dwell in your sanctuary? Who shall abide upon your holy mountain? He who lives with integrity, does what is right, and speaks the truth in his heart, who has no slander upon his tongue, who does no evil to his fellow man. It's interesting to note that for the psalmist to be close to God, to dwell in his sanctuary, a Jew must remain close to his fellow human beings, to treat others with the respect and dignity that they deserve. Jordy Hochstadt now dwells in God's sanctuary, truly, and upon God's holy mountain. He lived a remarkably fine, long life. He sustained a marriage with Susie for 63 years. They had a wonderful party for the whole family at their 60th wedding anniversary. Jordy and Susie raised 4 loving children, Doug, Steve, Lori, and Deborah. Welcomed their children's spouses into the family, Catherine, Stephen, Phil, and Neil. And the grandchildren and their spouses, Justin and Jess, Lauren and Dan, Jill and Andrew, Lizzie and Danny, Molly and Jay, Ilana and Gabe and Ella. And the great-grandchildren, Ryan, Alex, Mariella, Mia, Jeremiah, Aviv, and Talila. He remained very close to his brothers as well, Robert and Barry, and their spouses, Diane and Shelley. They have a very close family and a large one. What a blessing. What a wonderful life for Jordy. Being loved and respected and loving his family and his community in return. Jordy was born in 1939 here in Denver and grew up on the east side to parents William and Elizabeth. He remained close to them and cared for them as they grew older. He was the oldest of his siblings. He went to East Side schools, Montclair, Grove, and East High School, going on to college at University of Northern Colorado in Greeley for a BA. Jordy wanted to be trained as a teacher, a lifelong passion for him. But as the story goes, on registration day, the education department was full. And as he waited there, he saw the law school registration was open. So he figured, why not? And he went into law for a career, which became his profession for decades to follow. He had many partners in his law firm through the years. He served as their mentor and partner and friend. He was their model for objectivity and thoughtfulness, and as well as fairness, being honorable and ethical. He did pro bono work in the Jewish community, but in the greater community as well. Jordy, of course, as you all know, had a passion for Judaism and Jewish education. He has many appreciative students for opening up Judaism for them as teenagers, even those turned off by their bar mitzvah education. Ken Salomon, another member of our congregation, told me just yesterday that he struggled with his Jewish education until he was in Jordy's high school confirmation program. Jordy's other Jewish connections was to many of the traditional congregations in Denver, including Eidos and Dot and Beth Joseph and BMH. We are very proud to have him as a member of our congregation. Jordy and Sue gave to a dozen Jewish institutions in town. They were very generous and always active participants in the community. Jordy donated his legal advice to the Denver Academy of Torah when my wife, Tammy, was president of the board. She was so grateful. They had a lovely relationship. Jordy was the president of Eidos twice, a friend to their rabbis. He davened there regularly. He blew shofar through the years, several congregations. During the beginning of COVID, he went outside the apartment in the promontory and blew shofar for the grateful Jewish residents who are not going to shul that year. Jordy and Sue were involved with the cause of bringing Soviet Jews out of Russia. Jordy had a large presence in the Jewish community, as you can see right today. He was respected and loved. Jordy and Sue knew each other from a young age. They grew up together and loved each other and wanted to be together always. Sue's parents wanted her to date other people, see what was out there. So that meant that Susie and Jordy snuck around. They would be together for a lifetime. It was inevitable. Jordy and Susie were in love. He respected her, was kind to her, was her friend and partner. Every Friday night, he brought flowers to her for Shabbat dinner and wrote her a love poem every week. They were like fused together. She was his Eshet Chayil. He and Sue had Shabbat dinner every week. The kids knew that they would be there every time. And as they got older, they could go out afterward, but they would always be present at the Shabbat dinner table. Jordan was a wonderful father. He had a playful side that delighted the kids. He was also strict with high expectations. He was their tutor for bar bat mitzvah, for better or for worse. I was a tutor for my kids as well. They have some stories to tell. He taught them, his children, the Shacharit service, Torah and Haftorah reading. As a model, he taught them the importance of family, of stable family life, of care and respect for their spouses. He brought the kids to his law office when they were little, which made a big impact on them. At home, the kids set up their own imaginative law office, took turns playing the lawyer, right, just like their father. He brought the grandchildren shopping and loved spending time with them. He was known as the master of the Seder. He would prepare for weeks and teach the grandchildren parts so that they could present them at the Seder table. The grandchildren said that he was fully present in their lives. He knew what was going on with them. They and their parents were on the phone with him several times a week, but nothing was of greater value for them to talk to Jordy and Sue on Fridays before Shabbat to wish them a good Shabbos and get a blessing. Fridays were short and the family were blessed. They got increasingly bigger, and so time on the phone with them was at a premium, often causing a struggle to get through. Jordy and Sue made the time to speak with them all, perhaps the most meaningful day of the week for the family. Jordy was ahead of his time in accepting the interests and desires and needs of his children. Steve came out in 1986 at a time when American society just didn't understand. It was judgmental, cruel. Jordy accepted his son unconditionally and made sure Steve's siblings accepted it as well. You will hear much more from the family today and from the community during Shiva. Suffice to say that Jordy lived a long and productive and meaningful life filled with love and respect. We ask God now to bind up Jordan Hochstadt in the bonds of eternal life. May he now rest in peace. Amen. So I'd like to call up members of the family. First, Steve, on behalf of Jordy's children, to come forward and say a few words.
Bear with us a second. I just want to take a second before we start, just to let you know, it's with sadness that we are here today, and especially sad because our brother Doug is not with us today. He had surgery last week and could not board a plane and is not able to be here today. So we especially recognize him today and his wife, Catherine, and the daughter, Ella. A few weeks ago, this is written from the perspective of my brother Doug. He represents all of us in this today. A few weeks ago, Catherine, Ella, and I were sitting around the dinner table talking about Dad. I asked, what word would you use to describe him? We thought about this for a bit and landed on the word heroic. Not Marvel comic book heroic, although some of the dance moves from back in the day would qualify. Dad was a hero of life. With our mom, he raised 4 kids who knew by their example what it meant to go out and live a meaningful life. The world is most definitely a better place because of his involvement in it. The people touched by his kindness, generosity of spirit, inclusiveness, and warmth are too numerous to count. As is the case with most heroes, Dad commended a presence. Everything that makes his grandchildren laugh when friends of Steve, Lori, Deborah, and I would address my parents. It was Sue and Mr. Hochstadt. All of you know that that's the truth. He was 6 feet tall, with a deep voice that sounded to all the world like the audible equivalent of total authority. As he moved through the world, people orbited around him, or so it seemed to me, a son who idolized him. People were attracted to him. This was evident most every Friday night until we were actually sitting down at the dinner table. We were never sure how many people were going to be at dinner that night. And we didn't know how many places to set at the dining room table, or how many leaves we were putting into the table. Catherine remembers at Ella's bat mitzvah, Dad leaned over to her after Ella's haftarah and whispered, "You did this." And Catherine whispered back to him, "No, you did this." And while both statements were true enough, it illustrates a central theme. Dad leads, we follow his lead. Dad shows what it means to live a full and purposeful life. His children follow. and teach their children. Every day, Mom and Dad would illustrate what it means to do the right thing, to love life, and to put forth positivity into the world. That is what is burning into our hearts and minds. Their love of family is why Mom and Dad play such a central role in the lives of their children and their children's children and their children's children's children, no matter the physical distance. Dad's ability to take on every challenge, master it, and move on was heroic as well. He managed his diabetes. He made sure that the setbacks did not slow him down. He had too much to live for. Life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, or in his case, unsweetened lemonade. Dad's passing is a loss for all of us. And I guess the most poignant example of how affecting this is. If this were any other situation, we'd be looking to him to see how Dad was reacting to these changing circumstances and use that as a jumping off point for my own feelings or our feelings. I don't think I'm alone in how keenly disorienting this feeling is. I will miss my pre-Shabbat drinking buddy more than words can express. I will miss talking to him about the Broncos and our hopes, or lack thereof, for the next season of the next game. I will miss his cookbook. I will miss his book selections shared on our Kindle. The list of things to miss is heartbreakingly long. You are my hero. You are our hero, Dad. We love you. I would just add one other thing, and that is I'm so touched by the number of people here and the number of people my parents' age who are here today. It's a testament to them, to my parents, that they've cultivated such a large following of friends during the course of, 80 years on this planet. And it's moving for us to see all of you here. So thank you.
Now I'd like to call upon grandchildren, Molly and her sisters, and Jill and her siblings.
We are honored to offer these words on behalf of ourselves, our husband, and our kids. To be the grandchild of Sue and Jordy Hochstadt is to know unconditional love. Since our first memories, Bobby and Zeta have been icons in our lives, always there for us and present in every chapter of our lives. Being part of this family has always felt like a privilege to us, but only as we become adults can we fully appreciate how special this family is. While other families may find difference to be scary or divisive, in our family, acceptance and love for who you are valued above anything else. Bobby and Zeta raised 4 very different children, but they are all able to love each other, find shared values, and celebrate each other's differences. Zeta and Bobby created a family where family means navigating every circumstance together, united. And we're coming together as the lens through which we can see and celebrate every meaningful aspect in our life, from family to community, religion, and values. In the world, in a community, and especially in a family, each person is included in a meaningful way. Only now do we realize fully how special that person is. That is the essence of our Zeta.
Bobby and Zeta always practice what they preach and made doing the right thing and valuing what's important look easy. So no matter what occasion, they made sure we could come together and experience moments together. They made tireless efforts to be present and cheering us on for milestones large and small. They were always flying back and forth from Detroit to babysit us, be the mystery readers, or just simply to let us cut and style Zeta's pretend hair in our basement beauty shop. For our entire lives, whenever there was an opportunity to celebrate, there was no doubt that our Bubby and Zeta would travel around the world, no matter how inconvenient, to be there rooting for us. When Elizabeth was in the Chidon HaTanakh, the International Bible Competition in Israel, Bubby and Zeta were there. When I graduated from NYU at Yankee Stadium, they were there. When Alana needed bedtime stories as a little girl, Bubby and Zeta were there, with personalized books on tape to lull her to sleep. They traveled to our bat mitzvahs and weddings and brought their entourage of friends because their friends were family and family was meant to be celebrated together. We all remember waking up one Hanukkah morning in our childhood to see Alana's bedroom door wrapped in a huge bow and wrapping paper. Behind the door, Bubby and Zeta were waiting excitedly to surprise us for Hanukkah. It was the best surprise and memory that we will cherish forever. Zeta, you were always so youthful, always wanted to jump in the pool and play with your grandchildren when we were little. And now that we're all older, playing games is still such a part of our relationship with us three, with Jill and Andrew, Justin and Jess, Lauren, Dan, and Ella. Whenever my Zeta would say Kiddush, the Shabbat blessing for the wine, he would recite the blessing and then throw the Kiddush cup back. When Alana was young, she thought that part of the ritual was to put her hand on your head and then hold it as you drank the wine and you pour it back. She thought that was part of saying Kiddush. And then only as an adult did she realize that he was just holding his kippah when he took the Kiddush. Headgear was a way Zeta represented important moments in my life too. Every time I started a new chapter, I would buy him a baseball cap with the name of the moment in my life in the institution. The minute I sent Zeta a new hat, he would immediately retire the old one, and that became the new hat. And whenever I would FaceTime Zeta and he was wearing that hat, it felt like such an act of support and love. It meant so much to me that Zeta was so proud of my journey through life. I will always remember how special this made me feel. But it didn't stop there. Whenever we visit Denver, we always enjoyed visiting the deli and Eidos and Dot because we felt like royalty. Zeta would proudly introduce us to all the people in the community. Everyone knew and loved him, and we know how much he loved us and was proud of us. You took the same active role in your community that you took in each of our lives. Your commitment to Judaism, tradition, and community coexisted with your questions. You gave of yourself and dedicated yourself to learning more, to teaching more. You were always a listening ear, a mediator, someone who could offer sound and sage advice easily. No matter what time it is, you always make yourself available.
Sometimes you would stay up late in Denver just to watch a beef fight and feel togetherness. To you, being together was important, and it didn't matter if we hadn't talked in a while or if he was cranky. You didn't want to leave before. You just wanted to be with him and with us in that moment. You recognized the precious in every moment, good or bad. When I started to explain to my friends that you had passed, it felt difficult to share everything that you were to me and really explain the depth of our loss. Because you weren't just my grandfather, it was important for you and Bubby to be my friend, our friends too. I'm a talker, and when you talk a lot, people often tire of listening, but you never did. Everything I had to say was important to you. You always made me feel interesting and special, and like my voice mattered, whether I was telling you something genuinely insignificant or sharing something really big. I felt truly lucky that you were part of my routine. How special that you were my friend through navigating growing up and getting married and even becoming a parent. That talking to you and being heard by you will be something that Danny, Mia, and even Salila can cherish too. Is so incredible to me. From the day Mia was born, you have been content to listen and to observe because you just cared to be her friend too. It just mattered to you to befriend Danny and find common ground and engage him on your shared interests. I loved that you had so much to share, from learning to law to politics. Our talking sessions evolved over time, but it was always a constant, no matter how infrequently it happened. So much about you was constant and consistent. One memory I will always cherish is waking up early in Denver and seeing you wrestling for your Talmud study. You love to learn Jewish text and to teach and to question, and I so love that about you. We all so love that about you. You love to challenge yourself. You were so committed to your study. Every year when we prepare for the Pesach Seder, it is you we're thinking of. You always encouraged us to prepare, not to cap our questions at the big four. At the Seder, you were such a patriarch of our family. But in our family, dialogue was important and everyone had the chance to read, contribute, and disagree. But being an intellectual didn't make you insensitive or unemotional. You were so caring. You were such a good friend, such a devoted grandfather, and the most wonderful partner to Bubby. I don't think there's a single person here that didn't have Zeta high standards when choosing their partner. And for that alone, we are so lucky to be surrounded by our incredible spouses who embody your intellectualism, commitment, and above all, your chivalry. You were such a gentleman. You opened doors, pulled out chairs, and showed us what being a courteous human being and a good partner is all about. We learned so much from the respectful, meaningful, and fun rapport you had with Bubby. Your devotion to one another will always encapsulate who you are to us. When we try to think of memories and qualities that are uniquely you, every memory of you is so deeply intertwined with Bubby that who you both are is so interlaced. Your commitment to one another was so special to all of us. But you extended kindness, respect, and courtesy to everyone in your life, to people who thought differently, to people who were in need. You gave generously, but you also gave so much of your time and of yourself to the people and things that mattered to you. There was always space at your table for someone unexpected, endless capacity to love new people and make them a part of your family. We are so sad you're gone, Zeta, but because so much of who you are and were is ingrained in our lives in big and small ways, we know that your memory and selfhood will be present for us always. Thank you for teaching us by example the lessons you valued so much. Thank you for making your values our values, for showing us how family, lifestyle, community, and religion can be balanced in individual and meaningful ways. Thanks for being strong for us. Thanks for teaching us how to face pain resiliently. Thanks for bringing us together as you always do. I so wish we didn't have to be here, but it will always be an honor to make a blessing out of your memory, and that is what we are here to do. We love you, Zeta, all the way up to the sky and beyond, forever and always, no matter what.
We don't need to get it.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jill, Jordy's grandmother. My brother, sister, and I did not have the pleasure of having Zeta as our grandfather from birth. We waltzed into his life at the ages of 16, 19, and 23, my brother already engaged to be married. Many people would have chosen to let those adults just live, be friendly, be kind, and remain cordial. But for Bubby and Zeta, that was not in their DNA. They welcomed us into their home, their hearts, and their family. We had almost weekly Shabbat dinners while our parents, Neil and Deborah, moved abroad. In a time when our entire world shifted, they became our constant. At that Shabbat table, we learned things like how to bench and what it meant to keep kosher. We became challah aficionados, with Zeta teaching us just how much salt needed to be added on top. At the table, we played countless games of golf and anagrams and rummy cube. At that table, we learned what it really meant to question and learn about our religion. Growing up Reform and with little exposure to Orthodox traditions and customs, we had a lot to learn. Zeta was patient, humble, and kind. He discussed and provided thoughtful responses to all of our questions, like why are eggs parve but not chicken? and explain why turning on a light is work, but not flushing the toilet? What do you mean we have to memorize our game scores? Passover Seder lasts how long? Zeta addressed all of these type of questions with patience, humility, humor, and the desire to share his knowledge. At his heart, Zeta was a teacher. He would pick up on the little ways that Judaism was shining in all of us. Little ways that Judaism was shining in all of us. It wasn't just Judaism that he enriched our lives with. Zeta taught us to act with integrity, that doing the right thing, not always the easy thing, was important. I learned this lesson when buying movie tickets. Zeta informed me it was not appropriate to buy a children's movie ticket when I was over the age of 12. Zeta taught us that it was a privilege to pay taxes, which it is, to never wear your favorite Broncos sweater on game day, and that a true marriage is a partnership between equals. He embraced not just us, but our partners and eventually his great-grandchildren. There was not a single day after we came into his life that we were not his, a part of the Hochstadt family. Thank you, Zeta, for loving us, for making sure we knew we were loved, and for the amazing life lessons that will stay with us always. We promise you, Bobby will always have us surrounding her with love. We built an amazing family and life, and it was a privilege to be a part of it.
Very lovely words by the family. And also important to note that Lordy has family in Israel that came in here special to pay their respects and love for Jordy and support for the family. The Shiva schedule is pretty complicated. I think you all have that information on a piece of paper from Feldman, so please do look at it carefully. The one thing I would very much ask of you, as Jordy and Sue's apartment is not so large, and there'll be a lot of people in it, that only come if you're vaccinated, and please do wear a mask. It's indoors. We're going to be very tightly packed in that apartment, and we want to make sure everybody stays safe. Below the casket there. Almighty God of the living and the dead, send comfort to your children who grieve. Overcome by the pain of loss, they need your help to focus on the triumph and joy in Jordan Hochstadt's life. Help them to meet grief with courage, to face sorrow undaunted. Help them to treasure what is now theirs because Jordan lived in this world. Should despair threaten or faith falter, sustain us all, Adonai, for you are refuge and strength, our ever-present help in troubled times. Let us say, Amen.
We'll invite family members forward to place earth in the grave, and then we'll invite the community to participate in this very sacred mitzvah.
Yes. There's a red. There's the red. The red.
Yulamama Esa in I Harini Anyabo Azri. Azri Im Adonai Osa Shemar Ba'al All you can love us like I am from my heart. You know, you mean below you can't marry man somewhere and I still can ayagini naka. Yama my channel for your kettle for Lila. And now you smoke that, you go around. More than stuff, and now you smoke the time, the rest of your caveat. I turn my eyes to the mountains from where will my help come? My help comes from all the nine nations of heaven and earth. Adonai will not let your foot away, your body will not slumber. The garden of Israel neither slumbers nor sleep. Adonai is your protection, the guardian at your right hand. The day of the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guide you from that harm and guide your life. And now guard your going and coming now and forever. So we can form two lines both on each side of the grave. So to form the burial of the dead in a dignified, loving, and respectful way.
Oh, of course.
Just right here. I've got the bag here. Just sit right there. Just go to your room. Just sit right there. Don't move it. Just sit right there. If you will. Okay. Sorry.
Oh, okay. You know,
I copied them, and when it's confirmed, it, then I'll have it. South Forest Lane, Greenwood Village, 80121. Fine? No, no. And you are. Oh. Is there an amount you'd like sent or just whatever? No, I understand. I just want to make sure some of your know the protocol, everyone does it better. I went to town to Donna. She confirmed that I had to write that. Okay, so I don't have to. Okay. With the masks on, you know, we're doing this and it's not important. It's been a long time. I'll let go.
You can go see her first.
What?
What? Yes.
I want to say when it's going to game. I don't remember which one was Jeff. Yeah. Oh, let's remember.
Yeah.
The mom.
The mom. Okay. How's you doing? You're doing good. Okay. I remember that long time ago. Yeah.
What saved her life? She was home practicing piano.
That's right. Yeah.
She had an arrangement with her company that she came in later and stayed with. And she was about to leave the house, and the doorman said, "Where are you going?" She said, "Look." You never know.
My wife is as well. She made it. Yeah.
A lot of stories about this.
I remember that.
Yes.
All those
Yeah, we were.
And the thing is, I think just where they were, but there was something else that happened. So it was there. It's happening again.
Yeah, there was
We're all running.
Yeah, it was like a big power.
Yeah.
Is she still?
Oh, yeah. They live
I think I did.
They made out.
Okay.
So we're going to
Yeah.
I sure will. The shame is how people.
I know.
Anyway, well, they say. Oh, yeah.
Your That's not me.
So this is my mom's.
This is so. So glad.
I think you can. It's not like. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We're freaking out.
Everyone. So the family, it's like the morning pattern, the two. Each head out, and each head out, and then up. Roma, Viva, Filipe, Ramley, Fafite, the Kayakon, Yomekon, Kaye, the Kaye, Israel, Ragala, Idman, Kaye, Mani, Amen. Luka, Felisa, Felisa, Lucoma, Belinasne, Vizata, Vitala, Vitala, Slave, Shadow, Elam, Nico, Vata, Vitata, Vishwata, Ventamata, Damiram, Dhamma, Amen. Shama, Rabbi, Shama, Naima, Lenida, Polisa, Amen. Okay, Shalom, Maha, Luya, Shalom, Lenida, Polisa, Amen. Elmele Rachamim Shochem Bamami Hanukkah Lekana Chafat Kante Hakina Ma'ama Kidoshim Tahorim Azora Kiyamati Nishma Yehuda Bente V'Chanapele V'Halach L'Olamo V'Gan Eidin Te Menuchato Ana Ba'al HaYachamim Ashirehu V'Sefer K'Netak L'Olami It's Rosh Hashanah Ishbata, Adonai Hu Nakalato, Yamirka Shalom Amishkava, Benoma, Amen. Amalei Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, for an infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure, the soul of Jordan Hochstadt, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful one, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace, and his soul be bound up in the bond of life, and he rest in peace. Let us say. And then I'd like to ask you all to form two lines facing one another. We'll go out in this direction where Jim is showing you. The families will walk in the line. We can wish them consolation. And Laconia and Hashem of because Avalation, we wish the lion and be comforted amongst the other mourners of Zion.
I just want to get over there.
It's really nice to know.
Diane, I wanted to tell you how sorry I was about it. You just ignored it for so long. Yeah.
Do you want to see Gary?
Hey, Dad. Very.
This is Barry.
That's Barry?
Yeah.
Oh, Barry, I'm Rosetta.
Oh, I'm from the Steinberg. I'm
my
Shelley. I'm
Oh, my
Karina
God.
Friedman's daughter.
Where's Barry and Shelley?
Is that?
I'm Karina Friedman's daughter. Shelley.
Daughter?
Daughter.
Oh,
I'm-
my.
I'm married to her for about 50 some years.
Sorry about
You
your
too.
loss.
Thank
Thank you, thank you.
glad
And
to
listen,
see
you're
you're
here.
here.
We think of your parents.
And
all the
that
time.
you're in your doings well.
On our website. Okay. GA. Ooh, yeah. Okay.
This is Shelley's parents. This is the two words. This is your friend, Doris, the tour, and her husband, Brooke.
I see that. But I didn't know we were.
So you know, maybe once
I
these
love
cars
that
pull
love
out.
forever and ever, which they did.
Try to get there.
I didn't know we were so close. We passed by Doris. We'll remember all those good times.
All of those ski days.
Okay, thank you. I'll get down there and I'll be good.
Thank you very much.
There.
There you go.
Now I'm
Easy,
good.
climb up, but not go down.
Right.
That downward kind of make it, keep you going too fast.
Right.
The regulars.
What do they tell you? Yeah, spring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will tell her.
All right, see you.
Yeah, yeah.